What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another weather forecast here by Agents Weather Forecast. And this is going to be a video here watching for the widespread spring temperatures that will be arriving all the way up into portions of not only the southeast, of course, but really watching as well a big warm up for the next few days here, specifically the next 10 days across portions of the upper Midwest and as well all the way up to the Northeast. So we're starting to get more and more areas that are getting spring-like temperatures. Obviously, we're not talking 80s and 70s, but we're talking some upper 50s and 60s arriving in the Midwest, which obviously is spring temperatures. So we're starting to see our slight warm up across the eastern United States. However, we're still going to be in a deep winter for the western United States and the western plains, as that's kind of where we have our very snowy March there. But temperatures are rising across the eastern and central United States here, so it's going to be quite a warm few 2 weeks here for millions. So it's going to be getting closer to spring, basically. So before we get in the video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Hit the bell icon if you want to get notified as soon as I post a forecast. And if you have any questions, be sure to drop them in the comments below, and I will do my best to respond to you guys. Of course, I will try my best to get to you guys, though. But let's go ahead and jump straight into the video. So we actually are looking at, let me actually get my Epic Pen out because I didn't get my Epic Pen out. So let me actually go ahead and get that out for you guys. So as you see, we're going to be really watching for the next 6 hours for a very cold Midwest. You can kind of see a cold front moving in the area, but that's all going to change quite soon here. So we're starting anywhere from average to below average temperatures right now in the Midwest and portions of the plains and as well eastern United States, especially the East Coast, is definitely getting really warm here. However, they will get a slight little cold front there tomorrow, but it's going to really be minimal. But watching the next 24 hours as we have our first taste of that above average temperatures across portions of the upper Dakotas there, portions of the plains. As you see, though, that's going to allow for a colder eastern United States. So we will get a slight cold front across the Northeast, but that's going to be lasting only a few days, 1 or 2 days. But this warm front's going to be lasting almost a week and a half. So it's going to be very widespread here. But in the next 42 hours, and then we go into the next 48 hours, this warm front's going to bring it anywhere from 4 to scattered areas of 12 degrees above average across the Great Lakes and portions across portions of the Dakotas and northern plains. But as we gradually make our way later this week into Thursday, this warm front will become a lot more excessive. And you can see this warm air is making its way deeper into the United States here. And we still have a ton of warm air coming from central Canada. So this is not going to be the end of the warm front whatsoever. We're just getting started. See, those colder temperatures are going to become a lot warmer across the eastern United States. And that colder air that we saw in the south central will become a lot warmer just within a few days here. So we're going to be seeing some big temperature changes here. As we now get later into the weekend here, we're going to be seeing even some more and more extreme temperatures, or not extreme temperatures, but well above average, possibly 16 to 17, even 18 degrees above average across these regions here, according to the GFS. And we'll be seeing quite a warm western United States as well. However, we're still going to start seeing snow in the next week or so across the western United States here. And this cold air will move out of the eastern United States as this warm front does make its way there. You can kind of see by this Sunday that cold air finally comes back in the western United States. Going to start seeing those cold fronts and some cold and snowy weather across the Sierras and portions of the Rockies. When in the Midwest, we're going to start seeing anywhere from 10 to 16, even 18 degrees above average. And this is going to be taking up a lot of the eastern and central United States. It's going to be taking anywhere from 2/3 of the mainland United States portion there. And this is not going to stop anytime soon. By Tuesday, March 9th, really warm air continuing across the Midwest, and it's going to get progressively worse. Look at the Midwest. Going to start possibly seeing maybe just near 22 degrees above average across these regions, while the West is staying quite cold here, a few degrees below average, 6 to 12 degrees below average in the West, while we're seeing a very warm and spring-like weather across the eastern United States. So Definitely watch for severe weather this March if this pattern does kick in, as we're going to be seeing some cold air coming from the west and some really warm air across the east. So that's going to lead to some instability. So got to really watch out for severe weather. So we're going to start seeing that's not only spring-like temperatures, so spring-like weather in general, weather events. And it's not over by March 11th. Still really warm by March 11th, but as we get now to March 12th, we will have a cold front starting to make its way towards the deep, deep west, and that's going to bring in possibly even colder temperatures across the western United States and even warmer air across the eastern United States by March 14th. And then as we get to March 15th, it's still very, very warm across the southeast, but we're going to be seeing our first cold and below average temperatures in the southeast, eastern United States, and as well portions of the Midwest, not until really March 15th or March 17th. So we're talking warm air anywhere from 14 to 17 days straight for some areas in the eastern and central United States. So that is a lot of time with very warm weather. So for some areas we're talking over 2 weeks of straight up well above average temperatures. But that's what the GFS is showing. Let's see what the European is showing. So in the next 18 hours, the European is showing quite the warm temperatures at the same time frame coming from Canada, bringing even possibly 25 or even possibly even 28 degrees above average. You can kind of see 28.9 above average across portions of the upper Midwest and plains. And that's going to be allowing for some cold air, as we're going to be seeing that high pressure developing and making its way south. Got that cold air to the east, warm air to the west. And this cold air will stay for 1 or 2 days, but it's going to rapidly move out as that warm air does make its way deep into the United States. And that kind of just, it changes between one day. You got a cold Dixie Alley, you got a really cold eastern United States, and then boom, the next day, really warm those areas, specifically up there in the Dakotas, 30 to possibly 32.7 degrees above average across portions of the upper Midwest. So let's say their average high, I'm not an expert, but their average high is probably in the low 40s or the upper 30s at this point, since March is probably the coldest month of the year for some of these areas. So at 30, we're talking 60s, and that's a pretty big difference. Although 60s isn't that hot, it's hot for those areas at this time of the year. Obviously, they're used to below freezing temperatures, but it doesn't stop there. By this Thursday, we reached 35.4 degrees above average across the plains, but we're going to start seeing now 10 to 20 degrees above average, specifically across the Ozarks. But all this warm air is coming from Canada, as we have that very cold air coming back into the Arctic Circle. That's going to push that warm air to the south. And where else is south? Canada and America, and North America in general. You got obviously United States and Canada, which are directly south of the Arctic Circle, and that's exactly why it's going to be happening here. So, and we're going to continue to see this really warm air now getting 35.6 degrees above average across portions of North Dakota. Really, really warm areas like Alberta. It's going to be quite warm, specifically the southern portion. But you can see it's going to be taking a lot of the United States. Like, it's not just the Midwest. It's not just the eastern United States. It's going to take over almost all of the United States at some point, except Alaska and Hawaii. So even the West will get involved. But after this kind of moves eastward into next week, that warm air will move all the way to the eastern coast and Midwest, and that's going to allow for that cold air to come in from the backside and bring that cold air there across the west. But we're talking 20 to 32 degrees above average by Tuesday. It's going to start making its way east. So that cold air is going to be rushed out of the eastern coast by early next week. That warm air rushing its way eastward, which is going to allow for that cold air in the backside in British Columbia and the Pacific to come across portions of the southwest and west. So it's going to be kind of be a pattern switch, or a pattern swap, but still 28 degrees above average now across the plains. So all that worst warm temperatures make its way southward now into the southern plains, now making its way into the northeast, and now making its way all the way into areas like Quebec, making its way as well into Ontario, making its way into areas into Nova Scotia, Newfoundland. It's going to start moving now more towards the eastern regions, but that warm air won't stop coming from Canada. It's going to continue to feed into the United States, which is why it's going to be a 2 to 2.5 week system, or event, not system, but 2.5 week event for some people. But by early to mid next week is when that cold air starts to arrive across the western United States, but it's going to be rather warm for much of the west between now and the next few days, but expect that to change in the next by early next week, possibly by Monday or even Tuesday, latest Wednesday. But again, it's going to be warm for the west now. It's going to be a little bit colder for the east now, but all of that will change by late this weekend into early next week. But let's go ahead and take a look at the real-time temperatures, because obviously seeing 30 degrees above average is one thing, but look at the actual real-time temperatures is a different thing. So real-time temperatures for the next 6 hours, we're seeing, of course, our normal cold air across the Midwest, but that'll all change, of course, in the next few days. 10 degrees there, single digits there, but look how it's getting kind of warmer there across portion of the South. You see now seeing our 50s back as overnight lows. You're seeing now getting some 60s there in the mid-Atlantic. So we're still kind of warm right now in the Southeast, but we're seeing kind of our normal temperatures there in the upper Midwest. But we are seeing some quite the warm weather across California and portions of the Southwest for the next few days. You kind of see getting some really warm weather, getting some now 80s back in Arizona there. But we are going to see a little bit of cold air between now and the next 2 days across the east coast. And that's because that warm front will start to make its way, start its appearance by Thursday. So you can kind of see we're starting to get those really warm temperatures now by Thursday. You see we were just seeing those teens and single digits. Now we're seeing 50s across the Dakotas. I know that's not a big deal, but that is spring temperatures for these areas. 56. We're seeing now 60 near Kansas. Now getting 50s in Denver, guys. We're seeing, although 30s is cold at this time of the year, that is still pretty warm. Really taking a look at those areas here. And we're starting to be seeing that cold air across the Northeast, but again, it's going to change. But that's not even the worst. As we now get later into Friday, gonna start getting our 50s and 60s into areas just outside the Rockies and Sierras, getting 70s back in the California Valley, getting high to mid 70s across Texas now, and getting some 50s all the way into Montana. And it's not done yet, obviously. It's gonna get progressively more significant by the weekend here. This Saturday, getting now above freezing across the Midwest, the first time in a while here, getting now 80s, mid-80s across the Southwest, getting nearly 60 all the way up into areas like South Dakota, guys. South Dakota. I mean, that's, if you look at this, South Dakota on March 6th, the Saturday, had the same temperature as southern Georgia. When do you see that? When do you see that in spring, or technically we're still in winter, but you don't see that too common. Southern Georgia, or you don't see it too common where the Outer Banks of North Carolina has a colder temperature than areas in South Dakota. And that's showing you how the system is going to start making its way a lot more to the east. So you see you see the worst area of the heat will kind of be in these areas, and that's going to be allowing for the cold air in these areas. So as it moves eastward, these areas will become progressively warmer. You can kind of see the next few days. You can kind of see now we're getting warmer temperatures in Chicago, getting some 50s there. Now getting 58 degrees into areas in South Dakota. And you see it's super duper widespread now. We're seeing some 40s back in Pennsylvania. We're seeing upper 30s, nearly 40 in the Midwest and the far upper Michigan. And then as we now get later on, look at this. 53 degrees near Chicago. We're seeing 50s back in Wisconsin, 60 in Kansas. Seeing the same temperatures, guys. The same temperatures in areas like, you see, Virginia, 57. Areas in South Dakota, 58. 52 in Wisconsin. That's the same thing as really looking at areas into areas like in Virginia. So it's really, really weird. And possibly we may even get 55 near Milwaukee later into early next week. But it's not done yet. Look at this. 60s in Illinois, 60s in Wisconsin, 60s in Iowa, getting the whole state of Wisconsin and Minnesota to get over 50 degrees. This doesn't happen too much. You see, we're getting really warm temperatures. 58 near my area. You go all the way to Wisconsin, they're 59. You just don't see this too often whatsoever in the month of March. It's still technically spring, but now getting 65 in Kansas, now getting our 70s, moving a lot more to the north. And these overnight highs are going to be a lot warmer across the eastern United States. But look at the west. They're getting really cold, single digits, almost negative digits across those areas in the Rockies and portions of the Sierras. They're going to be very, very cold on early next week there. But 60s in Iowa now, getting 60s in New York City. We're getting now really warm temperatures continue across the Gulf Coast, and you can kind of see this this warm air is really making its way back to the southeast. Now getting 70s across the mid-Atlantic, and then that cold air kind of makes its way back into the Midwest for a little bit, but it's going to be very warm. Getting now 72 there across much of Georgia, getting our 70s up to New Jersey, guys. 70 degrees in southern New Jersey, 70 degrees. Getting 60s in Illinois, getting almost 70 degrees. We're talking 66 degrees near St. Louis. 80s in southern Georgia. I mean, this will definitely be warning for severe weather, because you see, you got that cold air right here, you got the very warm air here. So I'm really thinking this severe weather could be quite active, a little bit more active this month than it was last month. So we really got to watch out as well for severe weather, as this cold air is in the west and this warm air in the far, far east. You're seeing now 70s into Pennsylvania. So it's going to be very, very interesting. This uncommon type warm air. We're talking warmer temperatures in the upper Midwest than the southeast for some days. Definitely not common. But hope you guys enjoy the video. If you guys are not excited for spring, I recommend having a vacation in the west for now, because it's going to be very cold in those areas. But I can't guarantee you have that much left until the spring temperatures reach the Rockies and reach these Sierras, because the Cascades in those areas, they have a few more weeks, and then they'll start to feel this pattern as well. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later.